All right, we are joined by a public affairs analyst, Oluwole Akpejoye. Good morning to you and thank you for
Good morning.
Is it Akpejoye or Akpejoye?
Akpejoye.
Akpejoye. Okay, all right, so it's important to get
What
names
difference
right.
between Akpejoye and Ekpejoye?
Okay, Akpejoye is to call someone to come and be enthroned.
Okay.
Well, Akpejoye is someone that delayed you before getting enthroned.
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. Yes, you live, you learn. Okay, so what do you think, first off, about the assurance from the Labour Minister that the new minimum wage will take effect from September?
Well, you see, definitely the new minimum wage will take effect. But however, perhaps you probably want to ask me, am I in support of a new minimum wage or not? Okay. And since you have not asked me, my answer is I am not in support of a new minimum wage.
Why?
I probably say why? Wow. First, I have a problem with the NLC. The NLC is always coming up to agitate for increase in wage. I think they should go beyond that. What we should be talking about, even at your 18,000 naira, your 18,000 naira should be able to sustain an average or a small startup family.
How?
Now,
what can 18,000 naira do in Nigeria today?
Now, exactly. You now begin to ask me, what can 18,000 naira do? Because perhaps somebody on 18,000 naira have a child in a private school instead of a public school that is supposed to be free.
Is public education free in Nigeria?
Yes, of course. We still have, right now, we still have primary and secondary school.
You need to name the schools.
No, probably, no.
Let
us take it, let's get it right. We still have primary and secondary school that are free in Nigeria. That is basic. But however, that they are free, is it perhaps, is the environment conducive for learning? No is the answer. And why would you take your child to a private school instead of a public school? It is because you felt, okay, that your child is safer and will be better trained in a private school. So even with your 18,000 naira, you want to factor how you are going to pay for a private school instead of a public school. It is because we've had it all wrong with our governance system. It is because we've had it wrong. It's because we've had it wrong.
All right, for us not to have it wrong, let's go back to the beginning of what you just said. Even if you have all your children in public schools, from primary to secondary school, what about rent? What about feeding? Rice, you know how much rice is being sold for? Because you're saying you're against increment.
I'm against increment. You see, now we begin to look at it, is that in the past that we've had increments, has it helped us? No is the answer. And when I was going to come here, at least I made a small visit to perhaps a typical house, a face me, I face you house. Everybody in that house, in that compound, has what we call I better pass my neighbor generator.
Small generators.
When you look at what it costs fueling that generator and maintain that generator for a month, it's almost about 6,000 naira.
Even buying the generator, it's more expensive than the minimum wage.
Exactly. So when you now look at that, are we supposed to have that? Am I supposed to collect 18,000 naira and despite the fact that I'm going to pay for electricity, maybe 500 naira or 1,000 naira, as they, when they come to these face my face you houses, they will bring the bill and you share the bill within yourself. Perhaps 500 naira, 1,000 naira. If after paying 1,000 naira per month, am I supposed to go run a generator? I'm not supposed to. Also, if I have a public system that works, vis-a-vis, I'll take United Kingdom, where perhaps their basic salary is about £900. Its basic salary for an average worker is about 800, 900 pounds. First, you have an Oyster card. The Oyster card is a travel pass. The travel pass, all you just need to do, the moment you collect your salary, you probably go top up your card. Perhaps if you are topping up for 2 weeks, you probably pay about 40-something pounds. If you are topping up for about for a month.
There's a system like that in Rwanda as well.
So when you have that, you have a, and that card, that Oyster card takes you travel around London. Either you are going on the ferry, or you are going on the bus, or you are going on the rail. So if within yourself, if you know that your transport has been covered, so you have less. And because you are a low income earner, you are entitled to perhaps a rebate in your housing accommodation. So housing is no problem. Of course, because you know that you are going to pay electricity bill and it is what you use that you pay, you'll be conscious of the fact that, oh, look, my top up for this month is £10 or is £20. And in doing that, if I'm in the sitting room, I will put off the lights in the bedroom. That's why they will tell us, we visitors, please, the moment you're out of that room, please help me to switch off that electricity.
What about medicals? Really, there are so many issues.
Okay, we'll come on to all. We also come to the medical.
Because of time. In essence, you're saying that it's because the system is not functioning. That is why.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, let's see from a different perspective. Everything you have said, it's true, because we have also seen all of those. But when we come to the reality of who we are, where we're coming from, and what is on ground right now, because where Nigeria is and where London or America is far apart. The difference is like one universe to another universe, as the case may be.
But if you still compare Nigeria to Rwanda, you'll still be shocked at what you get.
Yeah, of course, that's there. It's easier to manage smaller
Kenya.
countries.
Or Tanzania.
Tanzania, Ethiopia.
But the point there is, where we are right now, the 18,000 naira, that minimum wage that we have, and is not able to do anything, and you are not in support of increment, how will an average Nigerian survive in a situation where you don't have all of those ideal systems that you have mentioned earlier?
You see, in the first place, the minimum wage, either I'm in support or not, will go on, as promised by the federal government through the Labour Minister. But sincerely speaking, what we should be agitating for is having our governance in the right perspective, is having a system that works, is having an health system. You talked about health. I'll come back to health again. In United Kingdom today, their NHIS is the largest employer of labor because it cuts across everything you can think of. Today, with 18,000 naira, if you are at work and they call that your child is sick, the very first thing you want to tell them, please take him to the nearest, or take her to the nearest clinic, not to a public, not to a public health facility. Why? Because it is not working. Why somebody like me will always feel bad that, because there is no way we will differentiate what we're talking about, and we will separate it without relating it to bad governance. If we have had a good governance in system, if we have had continuity of some policies in place, like the NHIS, the present government, they are 3 years there will be 3 years, maybe in the next few months. They promised us national health insurance that will work. There have not been any policy statement. There have not been any concerted effort to galvanize it, to make it work.
Well, the head is mad in corruption allegation now. But then you talked about agitation.
Yes.
So how do you agitate as a citizen if your belly is empty, if you don't have a roof over your head, if your children don't have good clothes on their backs? Don't you think they have to set priorities first off? That is when you are okay that you can ask questions.
No. You see, what we're talking about is not even about now. We're talking about, look, should we continue to have salary increment? Should we continue to agitate for minimum wage?
Review.
You see, when you have minimum wage, it's supposed to better your life. But presently, even when you have a minimum wage in Nigeria, it's like you are still back to square one. Before now, maybe even when we look at 18,000, the 18,000 naira is perhaps between 125 to dollar. But today, at least as at yesterday, dollar is going at the exchange rate is going for about 364, 365. That is less than $50. So when you now look at that, you now begin to wonder, so what I earn in a month is even less than $60 or $50. Now, even when they increase it, maybe even to $100, and you have a devaluation of currency, so you are still back to square one. So what we are saying is that rather than agitation for increase in salary, NLC perhaps should have been in the forefront of fighting and enthroning, good governance, having things in place that will crash the value of naira, of dollar, that will perhaps make even the present 18,000 naira that they are earning be able to at least sustain an average family. Presently, if I don't know what the increment is going to be about. I don't know, because of course until they come up. Even when they take it to at least, let's even say 50,000 naira. Honestly, it will still not help the people, because of course when they take it, the transport owners will come. They will also increase. The market people will also increase. So there will not be. So the multiplier effect also will also devalue that 50,000 naira that you have gotten. So why don't we put our agitation in place that, look, within the next 6 months, if we don't have an hospital facility that works, what does it cost this government if they had come in place? And let's even face that they want to face the issue of health system. By today, if you are at work now and they call you, and your child teacher calls you and say, look, your child is sick. The very first thing you want to do is you want to see your boss. You want to get off your work and go attend to that child. It's not supposed to be. If your child is sick, he or she has an health details with the primary health center. The very first thing is to pull out the information and see what the challenge is and start attending to him or her before you even go in there. But we don't have an health facility in place. Apart on the 18,000 naira, of course, we have an resident association where I pay almost about 2,000 naira for security, even though we have a police. So when you take off this 2,000 naira, why don't we have an effective policing system in place that will stop me from paying this 2,000 naira as security? Now again, I generate my own water. You understand? I provide my own water. Why do I have to do that? I provide my own electricity. Why do I have to do that from the 18,000 naira?
And you build your own house.
And I build my own house. So why do I have to do that?
But in all of this, does the NLC have the capacity to bring the government to that table, bring the government to that decision, bring the government to that commitment of saying, we have traveled the world, even in Africa. We don't have to go too far. Go to South Africa. She was talking about Rwanda. Go to Tanzania, even Kenya, where the systems work. Even Ghana, they have a culture of at least a working system. Does the NLC have that capacity to bring our government to that table?
The NLC is even more than capable to bring the government to its nail. But do we really have a responsive NLC? Honestly, at any time I even see them talk about, I don't even know which one to talk about now. Is it the Ajero faction or the Wabara faction?
At least
and
the Waba faction. The Waba is the one that is recognized by.
No, I'll tell you no. The last time the government was when they were going to go on strike, the government invited the Waba faction and invited the Ajero faction.
Because the Ajero faction has support of some oil workers.
You understand? And what they now do is was to get the Ajero faction, because they also want to be relevant. They want, you understand, to say, okay, no, we are not in support of the strike. And the Waba, and you see that it was not successful. And if you look at it, sincerely speaking, it is not the interest of the masses, it is the interest of the ESCO, the so-called executive. We do not have a united NLC. So the very first, if we have a united NLC, what's it?
But the Ajero group is saying they're no longer NLC.
Yeah, no, there is another group now.
So they're not NLC.
But then they're still a divided house. They're still a divided house.
And so even we saw years back how effective the NLC even was, especially during the period of petrol price increment, led by the former governor of Edo State. They would call for nationwide strikes, and of course they showed former President Olusegun Obasanjo a lot of
so that is where, here come the question now. Now, here come the question you first asked. Is the NLC capable of bringing the government to its nail? What did I remember vividly there in Washington. Obasanjo stormed out of that meeting. He said, what nonsense, let them go to hell. He said, okay, we'll go to hell. Strike continue. We will see who will go to, we will see who will feel the pain. The next thing is that after the second day, then this guy now, Jerry Garner, was then the information whatever. Minister. He came and said, look, we are sorry. Obasanjo came back and apologized, said, okay, I'm sorry for walking out of you. Now we want to talk.
And even during the subsidy protest under Goodluck Jonathan.
In 2012.
So it's just because the fact that we are not getting it right, and no matter what you say, the labor is still the most effective tool to drag a government.
All right. Would you say that it is because different?
We don't
not
have
even just
time
the
anymore.
we have because of time anyway. It wants us to wrap it here.
We have to leave you here now.
Right.
Thank you very much, Oluwole Akpejoye, for coming on the program. Yes. And like you have said, we look forward to a system that works, so we don't have to talk about increment every time, but let the system work. Thank you very much for your perspective.
Thank you.
Right.